Welcome to About Mansfield. It is your audio newspaper. I'm Steve Casillo, broadcasting from the Cellmark Studios, along with the About Mansfield news team. Colleen Daniel, she's out there in Studio West. This is the May 13th, 2026, 320th edition. Coming up, it's Mansfield News, Talk, and Information. Let's check the stories we're covering this week.
Mansfield Stadium countdown begins.
Mansfield hospitals earn high marks for patient safety. Mansfield ISD honors District Teachers of the Year.
Hawaiian Falls opens for summer season.
Mansfield ISD class of 2026 includes 42 sets of twins. And in sports, North Texas SC finds its winning ways.
And in the talk segment, Steve talks with local author Lance Irwin. We are Mansfield's only source for news, talk, and information. This is About Mansfield.
Hey, it's Luke with Cool Hand Electric and Air. Are your lights flickering? Is your AC struggling to keep up? Well, our solution-oriented Cool Hands are the local experts who fix it right the first time with a smile. Plus, 10% of our profits go to First Look and Waxahachie, so your project helps a family's future. At Cool Hand Electric and Air, excellence is still cool.
Cool Hand, Cool Hand, Cool Hand, where excellence is still cool.
Hey, it's Steve Casillo with an invitation to picture Europe the way you've always imagined it. Morning mist rising off the river, hillsides glowing in autumn color, castles appearing through fog as your ship glides gently past. This is the Rhine River in the fall. Paradigm Travel Agency is hosting a Rhine River cruise November 12th through the 19th. Aboard the elegant Ama Lucia, sailing from Amsterdam to Basel. You'll stroll through medieval streets, enjoy warm meals and local wine, and wake up somewhere beautiful every day. No rushing, no repacking, just a relaxed journey through storybook Europe. For more information, contact Claudine at ParadigmTravelAgency.com. Use the promo code MP111226.
Looking for a night out that's anything but ordinary? Step into Vault Seafood and Steakhouse, Mansfield's premier upscale dining experience. Savor perfectly aged steaks, fresh seafood, and handcrafted cocktails, all served in a stunning atmosphere. Want more? Enjoy private dining rooms and a cigar lounge for that extra touch of luxury. Vault delivers exceptional flavor in a one-of-a-kind atmosphere. Located at Matlock and Country Club, Vault Seafood and Steakhouse. Unforgettable nights. Unmatched taste.
I'm Yulani Lashley, President and CEO of Texas Health Hospital Mansfield, and you're listening to About Mansfield.
Welcome back to About Mansfield. This portion of the news is brought to you by Vault Seafood and Steakhouse.
The countdown is on for the opening of Texas Health Mansfield Stadium. The new multi-use venue is expected to open this summer as the future home of North Texas SC and as a centerpiece of Mansfield's massive Staybolt Street Entertainment District. City leaders say the stadium is also expected to host concerts, youth sports, and community events year-round. The project has already gained international attention after FIFA selected the facility as an official team base camp training site for Team Czechia during the 2026 World Cup. The stadium is part of a larger entertainment district planned along Highway 360 that could eventually include retail, restaurants, hotels, and additional attractions. Stadium officials are hosting an open house on the evening of Wednesday, May 27th. This event will feature the opportunity to explore what Mansfield Stadium has to offer. Enjoy exploring the stadium's many state-of-the-art amenities, explore the seating bowl, get an exclusive look at the North Texas SC home locker room, and enjoy concessions, autographs, and various other activities on the concourse. The event is a free, ticketed event, which runs 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. You can get your tickets at mansfieldstadium.com.
More than 20 hospitals across North Texas have earned top grades for patient safety, including 2 serving Mansfield residents directly. The nonprofit watch group, the Leapfrog Group, released its spring 2026 hospital safety grades, which rate hospitals nationwide on how well they protect patients from medical errors, injuries, accidents, and infections. Out of 55 hospitals graded across North Texas, 22 received an A rating. Among them were Texas Health Mansfield and Methodist Mansfield Medical Center. Texas also improved its standing nationally, moving from 16th place last fall to 12th this spring for the percentage of hospitals earning top grades. The DFW Business Group on Health says the report reflects encouraging progress in patient safety, while also highlighting the continued need to reduce preventable medical errors. Mansfield ISD recognized its top educators during the district's annual Employees Awards dinner held Tuesday night at the Center for the Performing Arts. The event, themed A Night in Paris, honored employees from across the district for their service and achievements, including the announcement of the Elementary and Secondary Teachers of the Year. Courtney Saxton of Nancy Neal Elementary School was named MISD's Elementary Teacher of the Year. Saxton teaches early childhood special education and was recognized for her work supporting young learners with diverse needs. District officials say she is also a two-time Education Foundation grant recipient and an active community volunteer. Meanwhile, Marianne Taylor of Jerry Knight STEM Academy earned the title of Secondary Teacher of the Year. Taylor teaches 8th grade advanced biology and forensics and has nearly 2 decades of classroom experience. She also serves as the campus Gifted and Talented Specialist and Science Fair sponsor. Mansfield ISD also recognized Campus Teachers of the Year and employees receiving service awards during the ceremony.
With temperatures starting to steadily climb across North Texas, Hawaiian Falls in Mansfield has officially opened for the 2026 summer season. Mother's Day was a hit that included free entry for moms. Park officials say this year includes new enhancements, including a $1 million facelift by new owners Ripley's Entertainment. The Mansfield location joined the company's 2 other Texas water parks in opening to the public this month. Hawaiian Falls has become one of Mansfield's major seasonal attractions and typically draws visitors from across the region during the hot summer months. And yes, if you've forgotten just how hot Texas can get by mid-July, just give it about 15 minutes.
And Mansfield ISD says this year's graduating class is making district history with a record-breaking 42 sets of twins graduating across its campuses. The class of 2026 includes twins from 5 traditional high schools and the district's early college high school. Lake Ridge High School leads the district with 14 sets of twins, followed by Mansfield High with 10. Legacy and Summit come in with 6 sets each. Timberview has 5 and Early College has 1 set. District officials recently gathered several of the twins at R.L. Anderson Stadium for a video shoot and interviews with local media ahead of graduation ceremonies. According to the ISD, twins occur in less than 0.5% of pregnancies, making the unusually large number of twins in this year's graduating class especially notable. The district says it is the highest number of graduating twins Mansfield ISD has ever recorded. North Texas SC wins on the road. We'll talk about it because sports is next.
Hungry for bold flavor and a good time? Head on over to El Primo's to enjoy sizzling fajitas and their signature blue margarita. Enjoy weekend live entertainment and let the kids run wild with an outdoor play area and arcade. Planning a party? Multiple private rooms are available, including the all-new Parrot's Nest to make your event a success. Food, fun, and flavor for the whole family at El Primo's. Visit elprimos.net and bring your appetite. Located at Matlock and Country Club. El Primo's, where the locals go.
In sports, North Texas SC ended its 4-match winless streak Saturday night with a 2-0 road victory over MNU FC2 in Blaine, Minnesota. Ricky Lewis and Enzo Newman each scored their first professional goals as North Texas improved to 3 wins, 4 losses, and 3 draws on the season. Newman opened the scoring in the 26th minute before Lewis added another just before halftime. Goalkeeper Nico Montoya recorded his first clean sheet of his professional career with 2 saves, helping North Texas earn its first shutout of the season. Head coach John Gall said the club adjusted several things in training this week after a difficult stretch of results. Gall praised the team's defensive structure and execution on both goals, saying the players responded with energy and focus against a strong Minnesota team. Newman, he's a super draft selection returning from an ACL injury earlier this year, called it a complete team performance as North Texas stayed compact defensively and capitalized on its scoring chances. North Texas SC returns to the home pitch May 16th to host Sporting Kansas City 2 at Choctaw Stadium. Don't forget, July 4th is the home opener at the brand new Texas Health Mansfield Stadium. Also in sports, Lake Ridge High School boys basketball coach Cornelius Mitchell is leaving Mansfield to become the next head basketball coach at C.E. King High School, according to the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Mitchell spent the last 3 seasons leading the Eagles and quickly turned the program into one of the top Class 6A teams in Texas. In his first season, Lake Ridge finished 32-7 and reached the school's first ever boys basketball state semifinal. The Eagles followed that with a 33-4 season and an unbeaten district record in 24-25, competing in one of the state's toughest districts. That playoff run ended early because of the use of an ineligible player. This past season, Lake Ridge finished 23-9 and placed second in the district behind North Crowley, the reigning Class 6A Division I state champions. Over 3 seasons under Mitchell, the Eagles lost only 6 district games. Mansfield ISD says the search is now underway for a new head coach of the Lake Ridge boys basketball program. And that, my friends, is a look at sports. This coming Saturday, May 16th, is it's basically America's official excuse to cancel all productive activity. Get this, it's World Whiskey Day, National Mimosa Day, National Waiters Day, and National Barbecue Day, all rolled into one glorious celebration of smoked meat, adult beverages, and tipping your server like he just rescued you from a hunger emergency. Start Saturday morning classy with a mimosa. Transition responsibly into whiskey sometime around, I'll have just one more rib. Then spend the rest of the afternoon honoring the hardworking waitstaff, carrying 6 plates, 3 ranch dressings, and somebody's extra side of pickles without blinking. By sunset, your backyard smells like brisket. Your uncle suddenly becomes a self-proclaimed pitmaster, and someone is explaining bourbon notes that nobody can actually taste. This coming Saturday, raise a glass, pass the sauce, thank your waiter, and remember, calories consumed at a cookout on a national holiday are federally invisible, I think.
Coming up after the break, we turn the page to the features section.
I'm Angel Biasatti, and today we're talking about a life-saving effort happening right here at Methodist Mansfield Medical Center. Our Dracula Day blood drive.
The Derby's done, and now it's time to settle into May like you own it. This week's drink has fruit, it has bourbon, it has ginger, and it absolutely does not apologize for any of it.
We are Mansfield's only source for news, talk, and information. I'm Colleen Daniel, and this is About Mansfield.
And Colleen, I want to take a second to remind the listeners to check out the Mansfield Military Moment with Nike Harrison. She produces short video vignettes that are specifically for our military friends and family. Nike is an Army wife and a mother of 2, and she'll be bringing periodic stories to you about military life here in Mansfield. Again, it's the Mansfield Military Moment with Nike Harrison. You can visit our About Mansfield News Talk Facebook page to see her reports. This portion of the news was brought to you by El Primo's, where the locals go.
Hey, it's Luke with Cool Hand Electric and Air. Are your lights flickering? Is your AC struggling to keep up? Well, our solution-oriented cool hands are the local experts who fix it right the first time with a smile. Plus, 10% of our profits go to First Look and Waxahachie, so your project helps a family's future. At Cool Hand Electric and Air, excellence is still cool.
Cool hand, cool hand, cool hand, where excellence is still cool.
At Methodist Mansfield Medical Center, we've been caring for our home team for over 15 years. Today, you'll find award-winning physicians on the medical staff, advanced neurosurgery, a Level 3 trauma center, critical care for newborns, and comprehensive orthopedic care. Methodist Mansfield, delivering the care our friends, neighbors, and home team depend on. That's community, and why so many people trust Methodist.
Congratulations to Veronica Wimmer, who was the first person to correctly answer last week's Mansfield trivia question. In what year did Vernon Newsom Stadium open, and what is its official seating capacity? Veronica knew that it was opened in 2006 with a seating capacity of 11,134. Looking for the weekly, highly coveted, wildly popular About Mansfield trivia question? You can find it at its new home on the About Mansfield Facebook page. So log on to Facebook right now and hit the About Mansfield News Talk page. As always, the first person to email the correct answer will win a $25 restaurant gift card, courtesy of Joe Jenkins Insurance. Good luck.
Hi, this is Joe Jenkins with Joe Jenkins Farmers Insurance, specializing in auto, home, commercial, and life insurance. I was born and raised here in Mansfield, Texas. We're active in the community, and Mansfield's a town we really care about. Our office has over 30 years' experience in the insurance industry, and we're passionate about what we do and about customer service. For a free quote, please visit our website at joejenkinsinsurance.com or give us a call at 817-472-6058. Once again, that website is joejenkinsinsurance.com.
Hi, I'm Matt Denny, General Manager of North Texas Soccer Club, and you're listening to About Mansfield.
Welcome back to About Mansfield, your audio newspaper. Let's open up the features section. Angel Biasatti is here to talk about an event coming up on National Dracula Day in Methodist Mansfield. News to know. Angel?
In our community, showing up for one another can be the difference between life and death. And it starts with something simple as donating blood. Joining me today is Karen Yates, who is helping lead this important initiative, our Dracula Day blood drive. Karen, thank you so much for being here. This is such a fun name for an event, but the impact is incredibly serious. Can you share why this blood drive is so critical for our patients, especially trauma victims?
Hi, Angel, and thanks for having me today. Blood donations, as you said, are incredibly important, not only for trauma patients, but other patients suffering certain types of medical emergencies, even before they arrive at the hospital. So we have partnered with EMS and fire departments in the agency to help actually have blood available before patients arrive at the hospital. Really can make a difference between life and death.
That really puts it into perspective. How powerful a single donation of blood can be. Karen, can you share the details for those who want to participate?
Absolutely. So we chose World Dracula Day as a fun day to place the importance really on the need for blood donation in our community and, of course, around the country. So from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. on May 26th at the hospital, we will be hosting a blood drive. We picked that time period so that it would allow people to come after kids get out of school, after work, etc. From 4 to 7 is really the big community emphasis. And at that time, we'll have local fire departments here with some of their equipment, various things for the community to see in addition to their blood donation. I really want to point out how important our partners are in the community. So Carter Blood Care obviously is a huge component for this. Mansfield Fire Department, the Sunrise Rotary, and the North Central Texas Trauma Regional Advisory Council.
Thank you, Karen, and thank all of our partners and everything you're doing to make a difference in our community. To our listeners, this is an opportunity to directly help save lives right here in Mansfield. When trauma and medical emergencies happen, there's no time to wait, and your donation helps ensure blood is ready when it's needed most. Join us on Tuesday, May 26th from 9 to 7 p.m. at the hospital for Dracula Day. I'm Angel Biasatti, reporting for the About Mansfield podcast.
Shaken or stirred, you know it's going to be good, as Brian Certain serves up an unapologetic drink containing fruit, ginger, and bourbon in this week's Cocktail of the Week. Brian.
Welcome back to the Cocktail of the Week, brought to you, as always, by Bourbon Gospel. I am your inevitable host, Brian Certain, and we are deep into May's theme, Sips and Stripes Forever. Last week, we paid our respects to the Derby and jumped into one of my patio's favorite, the Kentucky Buck. And this week, we shift gears just slightly because May isn't just one weekend. It's a whole month of reasons to be outside with something cold in your hand. And the blueberry bourbon buck is exactly that drink. Bold bourbon, fresh blueberries, a little bite of ginger, the kind of combination that feels as American as it gets. So the ingredients, we're going to take 2 ounces of a good quality bourbon because, no one has time for bad bourbon. 1 ounce of fresh lemon juice, a half ounce of simple syrup, 8 to 10 fresh blueberries, 3 to 4 ounces of ginger beer. The garnish, we're going to take fresh blueberries on a toothpick with a lemon wheel. Glassware, again, love the copper mug or a nice Tom Collins glass, and then fresh ice cubes. How do we make this blueberry wonder? In a shaker, we're going to take the blueberries and muddle them with the simple syrup until broken down. We're then going to add the bourbon and the lemon juice, fill with ice, and shake vigorously. We're going to double strain it into a highball or copper mug over fresh ice, and then top with our favorite ginger beer, which is always Q ginger beer, and then garnish with a blueberry skewer and a lemon wheel. Now look at you go. The mocktail version is the Bluebell Buck. We're going to take the aforementioned 1 ounce of fresh lemon juice, the simple syrup, the fresh blueberries, and the ginger beer. Then we're going to use just a splash of sparkling water. We're going to muddle, shake, strain, top, done. No one at the table needs to know it's a mocktail unless you tell them. The Buck is one of the greatest overlooked cocktail formats, a spirit, citrus, and ginger beer combination that's been around since the late 1800s. It's essentially the older, less Instagram-famous sibling of the Moscow Mule, which didn't come about until the 1950s. But what makes it worth revisiting? The ginger beer does something interesting with fruit-forward bourbons. It amplifies the spice without masking the sweetness. The blueberries add that wonderful color and body and a subtle tartness that plays beautifully with the carbonation. May is the peak of blueberry season in parts of East Texas and the Gulf Coast, so local berries aren't just decorative, they're the reason this drink works. May is in full swing. Keep up. As always, I'm open to hear your take and your input. You can reach me at brian@bourbongospel.com. And until next week, as Mark Twain said, too much of anything is bad, but too much whiskey, well, that's barely enough. Reporting for the About Mansfield podcast, I'm Brian Certain.
We're back in 60 seconds with Steve's in-studio talk with local author Lance Irwin.
Imagine a city where innovation knows no bounds, where dreams take flight and the future unfolds before your very eyes. Welcome to Mansfield, a beacon of growth and a testament to vision. In the heart of Mansfield, a remarkable transformation is underway. But it's not just about the physical landscape. It's about the spirit that drives us forward. A spirit of collaboration that bridges cultures, a spirit of entrepreneurship that fuels prosperity, and a spirit of community that binds us as one. Mansfield is more than just a place. It's a canvas where diversity paints the picture of progress. From art festivals that ignite creativity to tech hubs that redefine boundaries, this city celebrates every voice, every passion. Mansfield, where growth knows no limits and the vision is limitless. Brought to you by the unstoppable spirit of the Mansfield Economic Development Corporation.
Hi, I'm Katie Hayes, pastor of Galileo Church, and you're listening to About Mansfield.
Welcome back to another segment of About Mansfield. I'm Steve Casillo as we make the transition from news to talk. In the studio today, I always like talking with local authors. In this case, he's also an artist. The book is just recently released. It's called Cryptids, Aliens, the Odd. It is a richly illustrated collection of little-known and obscure real-life accounts drawn from reports, legends, and encounters that exist on the fringe of accepted history. These stories are often overlooked, forgotten, or dismissed, and they are meticulously retold in vivid detail and paired with striking original artwork. And the artist is here in the studio. Artist Lance Irwin, welcome to About Mansfield.
Hello, Steve.
Tell me about this book, Cryptids, Aliens, the Odd.
This project started about 6 years ago with a collaboration with a bunch of guys that do a podcast called the Cryptonaut Podcast. They delve into these very obscure subjects. One of the main guys, Rob Morphy, he grew up as a monster kid, just like I did. So we were all into the same kind of things. I got very bored with the Bigfoot, aliens, Mothman. I heard it all a million times. But they would come up and they would dig out these stories from the trenches, from historical, back before the 1800s. They would pull things from journals, old newspaper articles, and then they would turn each one into an episode. They would talk about the story, and then they would come up with theories, and they're a little saucy. And but I ran across an episode called Walking Stumps, and I was like, I got to know this story. So the stories in and of themselves are probably more fascinating than anything, even the artwork. To me, it's the stories that people would come up with and stuck with all their lives. And I always wanted to do my original artwork, something with my name on it. Mm-hmm. Been doing professional illustration for over 30 years with a company out of L.A., Hamagami Carroll Incorporated. I've done thousands of video game key art covers, clients like Hasbro, Disney, Star Wars, you name it. I've done toy packaging art, video game art. My name is not on anything. And I decided, maybe we're going to do this little project with those guys where I could do some artwork where I could actually put my name on it.
Yeah. Let's go back in time. What got you interested in graphic illustration or graphic design?
Just one of those things, growing up an only child out in the country. Back then you didn't have iPads and iPhones and all that. You had 3 television stations. Once in a while you'd see a monster movie. And my grandmother would hand me a piece of paper and pencil and be like, find yourself something to do. And then, that was my interest. So, I've been drawing since I was, little kid.
Sure. Growing up in the country where?
I grew up in Gasport, New York.
Gasport, New York. Upstate?
Yeah. I went to school at Barker High School.
Okay.
Nothing but cornfields and a house every half a mile.
Tell me about the growing up on the farm or out in the country. Were you on a farm or?
We did have horses.
Okay.
I was surrounded by farms and cornfields. We had a little plot of land, which was, a 100-year-old farmhouse. My parents raised horses. They used to do horse shows, and that was their thing.
Did you grow up on horses?
I did grow up on horses, although I just had more interest in just being friends with the horses because riding the horses to me was a literal pain in the ass.
Yeah. You took your art to school. Then were you always drawing, even doodling in class?
Yeah. I just barely made it through high school, not because I wasn't smart, but because instead of taking notes, I was sketching and drawing in my notebooks. So I had an A in my art classes, and I had a 65 in everything else until I started applying myself towards the end. And then, I was always a smart kid. I ended up on the top 10 of the science team and barely paid attention in class.
Yeah.
It was just an interest thing. ADD, I guess you'd call it now.
They'd put you on drugs now.
They'll put you on drugs for it now, but back then I didn't know what was going on.
Did you leave upstate New York for college?
Yeah, I ended up going out to NCCC, and I started out in fine arts because, that was my thing. It really didn't have a lot to do with illustration, but I had to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Then that transitioned into, political connection. I ended up working for the sheriff's department there for about 3-4 years. I ended up being stuck working in the jail, and that really sucked. And an opportunity came along where somebody from Gasport was working with Salem Sportswear, and they did sportswear T-shirts. And they started getting into things like doing superheroes and mascots, and it was mascot mania. Somebody from college knew me from doing superheroes and doing all this drawing, said, hey, I know this guy. 2 weeks later, I quit the sheriff's department, took a huge cut in pay, switched careers, and that's back when we were doing things with airbrushes and pencils.
Yeah. That was your first job as a graphic designer?
Yes.
Or designer or illustrator?
It was kind of a combination of all the things, because you're designing type with illustration. But it was mostly, I was mostly the sketch guy that would come up with concepts, finish out the sketch, pass it on to the airbrush artists. Then I started doing the airbrush and started learning color that way.
Tell me about the first time you created something that you saw either on the market or in the community, the first time you saw your work in public.
First time I saw my work in public is when we had people that I worked with Gardner Graphics back in Gasport doing the sportswear. But everybody moves on, and a few of those guys moved on to San Francisco and Los Angeles. One was doing rock art, one was doing movie posters, and he switched over working for a company that did branding and illustration for IPs. Mm-hmm. And they were always saying, hey, Lance, come on out here and work with us. And I said, well, when I feel like I'm ready, I'm gonna. And that's what I did. I moved to LA and I started working with a company called Hamagami Carroll Incorporated, and I've been there for 30 years, and I just retired this past month.
Yeah. You mentioned you've created several video game covers. You've done Hasbro. You've done other.
Yeah.
You can walk through Target or Walmart and see your work on there.
You could still see my work there. The industry's starting to change quite a bit because of AI. We're not doing the business that we used to do anymore, but we were the thing back then. I myself was the model for many of the video games. You go back to some of the first Call of Duty video games when it was World War II. That's me on the cover.
Huh.
It's not because I was anything special, but I was available. And I was probably for about 15 years their main designer when it came to video games artwork. We had designers that would come up with ideas, but then I would come up with my own ideas. And I always did a thing called I called it a guy with a gun theory. And it was like, no matter what you do or no matter how creative you get, once you show the shareholders and the developers, they just want to see their characters on the cover with a guy with a gun. So no matter what concept I did, I always threw one in of a guy with a gun, and 90% of the time, that's what ended up on the covers.
Nice. Have you always had then a fascination of cryptids, aliens, and the odd?
Yeah. When you're growing up out in the sticks, there's not a whole hell of a lot to do. And you had 3 channels. And on Saturdays and late at night on the late shows, sitting around with my great-granddad, we would watch those old sci-fi shows from the 50s that were reruns. And I just had a fascination with them. I thought it was cool. I grew up, as they call it now, a monster kid. It's just something that always fascinated me.
And with that, you took pen to paper and created these illustrations for the book. Tell me about the guy on the cover, and I'm going to try to describe this as best to the listeners. That looks like a space alien. He's got 4 antennae coming out of his helmet with red beady eyes, a hose going around his neck, And he's holding a brain with an eye.
Yes.
Okay, tell me about the cover.
So when it started out with the Cryptonaut podcast, Rob Morphy and I both have a fascination with old B classic movies. Their logo was sort of a knockoff of a movie called Robot Monster. And it was a guy in a gorilla suit with a cheap space helmet, super low budget movie, really bad. But it was so bizarre that it was just something that we both kind of had an affinity towards. So when we started the book, I wanted to do something similar to their logo, which was a skull in a diver's helmet that was very reminiscent of Robot Monster.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do my own version of Robot Monster, which I had been doing before even I had met Rob. I would do little drawings of my renditions and my interpretations of Robot Monster. So I wanted to do something with the cover that kind of related to them. And being one of my all-time classic favorites, it kind of represented a lot of those things. So it's alien. There's cryptid in there. And it kind of all ties together into the concept. It's not a specific story, but it is symbolic of kind of all of those things together. So developing that cover was part of what I was trying to do with the podcast. Originally, it was going to be called the Cryptonaut Podcast Field Guide. And those guys, they got very busy and they bailed out on the project. And then it ended up being mine. I'm a terrible writer. I'm a good illustrator. And so what I did is I partnered up with Susan Sullivan, who is an activist that was out of Denton, working on projects. It was a Patagonia project where they were doing air testing around playgrounds. And we had playgrounds right next to the fracking issues that we were having. She had produced 3 books with some friends of hers. So she knew what she was doing technically.
Right.
So I got back in touch with her and I said, will you help me out with this? She said, sure thing. So she was going to do the writing, but not really knowing the background very well on those things. I ended up taking all the basic facts, adding in my own little sense of humor, my Easter eggs, and some of my theories behind some of these stories. I tell the entire story as it was retold the story as from the angle of the eyewitness, and then I kind of interject some of my own thoughts into it.
Yep.
So I take all the basic facts, I put in all my terrible punctuation writing and horrible writing because I was drawing instead of writing in school, and I used GPT to help put it together without changing anything. I said, just make this make sense. Do proper paragraph structure and punctuation, and I pulled it off.
Looking down the table of contents, there are probably a couple of dozen stories. You mentioned the walking tree stumps, and there's Sam the Sandown Clown, the Enfield Monster, the Zimbabwe Goblin, and so on and so forth. Which came first, the stories or the illustrations?
Illustrations actually came first. Some of my favorite stories, one of them had to do with a one-eyed tripod and a very bizarre story that a man had told that had happened to him. I just thought it was a cool character, and it was fairly easy. So I drew it. I sketched it up. I hand-painted it, and I sent it to those guys. And I said, let's do a field guide. And then one of the better stories, one of the most fascinating stories, is Sam the Sandown Clown. Then I did that one.
That's the first story in the book.
That's the first story in the book. And it is one of those stories where it starts out a little bit scary because it's an entity that doesn't quite fit into any particular. It's just not a typical cryptid. It could have been anything. It could have been a weird guy in a suit. It could have been a spaceman. It could have been some kind of ghost. We don't know. It was just so odd. But it's a very popular story amongst the people who are into the obscure ones. And it's one of the favorites. Just because of the story is so, it's like the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
You start out, this guy is very scary, and then you end up, because of the conversations that these children ended up having with this entity, you start to develop an empathy for this character. It becomes very touching towards the end.
That's like the what's the illustrated movie, The Giant? Everybody's afraid of the Iron Giant.
Yes.
Except the kid.
Right.
The kid befriends the giant, and everybody finds out in the end that, hey, the giant actually turns out to be okay.
The moral of a lot of these stories is humans are the real monsters.
Interesting. The illustration of Sam, the Sandown clown, describe him. He looks like he's sitting in the corner with a dunce cap on. But
it all comes from the descriptions from the kids and a rough little sketch that was done by a UFO journal. I believe it was the 1960s. Who just kind of roughed out a little sketch based on what they said. The construction of the thing was incredibly bizarre. A big giant round head that didn't move, and it would speak through a speaker and a toy microphone. It had sticks coming out of its arms, slats, and it had feet with 3 toes.
Right.
It was very strange, and it sort of looked like a clown.
Slash monster.
It's not too scary.
No.
But it's incredibly bizarre.
Triangles for eyes.
Yeah.
On his cheeks, looks like 2 division symbols.
Yes.
Wearing a yellow coned hat.
Yeah.
Says this goes back to May 16th, 1973, from the Isle of Wight in the United Kingdom.
Right. You can look that up on the internet, and you'll find that story on the internet, but it's not widely known.
Cryptids, Aliens, the Odd is the book. It's available on Amazon, both on paperback and hardcover. Who's going to buy this book?
So far, a lot of adults have bought it, basically because they're friends of mine. But once they just dig the art, and I'm like, it's really about the stories. I've got one review where they said that they gave it to their kid and they can't put it down, and that is really where I'd like to leave a mark with my career as an artist. Is I always remember picking up a book, when I was in the 5th grade, and it was about Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster and, the popular ones.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite books. If I could someday create an interest that I had because of a book like that changed me, I would love it for a book like this to be able to fire the imagination of younger people. But there's also some very deep conceptual bookends that I've created with this, and some very thought-provoking commentary where I believe that adults would enjoy it as well. It's bookended by the character that we created for the cover, and it comes down to a thing called Mysterian philosophy. You can look that up in a dictionary. And basically what that is that the human brain can only understand so much, which lends a little more credibility to some of these crazy stories.
Mm-hmm.
Just like a dog can't understand calculus, there are just certain limitations with our brains that we can only understand certain things. So even though some of these stories are what you'd call batshit crazy, they're very entertaining, there are possibilities out there that some of these things could have happened somehow. So it starts out with that concept of the Mysterian philosophy. And then at the end of the book, I created sort of in a comic book kind of way, a story of the Mysterians, and they have little connections to various cryptids in the book. You can't tell if they're enemies or if they're friends or if they're hunters. The basic idea is that they were, just curious scientists, or maybe they were interdimensional travelers that would, reset the timelines. People got stuck, and other creatures got stuck or somehow ended up in our universe, and they were the ones that pulled them out. I wasn't really sure what that connection would be. And being if it's put under the umbrella of Mysterian philosophy, there's no text, there's no story to it. There's sort of a story to it. I still don't even know what the actual story is in a certain way. But then that's where the part of your imagination fills it in. You're going to fill in the information based off of the fact that there is a sort of a story in there. We're not exactly sure what it is. That ties back into Mysterian philosophy.
Yeah. Do you think there's life in outer space?
I definitely think there's life out there. With all of the recent reports and the recent issues with the UAP now on Congress, you got the whistleblowers coming out saying we've had secret programs that have, retrieved crash saucers. There's just too much evidence out there. You've got military FLIR videos, cooperation between pilots who are incredibly reliable, backed up by, the radar, everything else. It's out there. There are UAPs out there. We can't understand them. We don't know what they are. The government might know. And now it's a big fight with the government trying to get disclosure on these things. So I do believe that there are things out there we just don't understand that are out there. And we've got physical proof of those now.
Do you think we'll ever get a crystal clear photo of a UFO?
I don't know if we'll ever get a crystal clear one unless, somebody happens to be able to get a shot of a crystal clear one. Problem is that, they're zipping around at, beyond physics.
Yeah.
Then they'll stop. They'll take off. Even as a kid myself, when I was probably about 8 years old, me and a bunch of kids riding bikes, we looked up in the sky, massive. It was like about a quarter size of the moon right above us. It looked like maybe it was a few thousand feet in the air, and just slowly traveled across the skyline. And I was so excited about it. It just traveled across the skyline. It took about 15 minutes, and then it was moving away from us, and it just faded into the horizon. It was not a reflection from a plane. It was just something we're never going to understand. And that people are seeing these things. I've seen them myself.
You've had a close encounter.
I wouldn't call it close, but I would call it an encounter that finally made me
a believer.
Instead of a 99% believer, into a 100% believer that there are things out there that our brains just can't get behind. They deny physics. And I don't even know if our own government understands them, but they definitely got an interest in us. And now they're starting to show up with whistleblowers in Congress, investigations, cover-ups, all that other stuff that you would think would be, just fodder for conspiracy theorists are now becoming reality.
Yeah.
So I did include a little bit of the UAP information in the book into one of the section called Jellyfish in the Sky. And then I realized just the look of what it could look like if we did see it close up and personal. Right now, all we have on it is FLIR video of it changing temperature and a basic shape. I took the basic shape and I created with 3D right from those basic shapes, something that was very visceral.
Mm-hmm. What can Facebook users find on the page Cryptids, Aliens, the Odd by Lance Irwin?
Well, in that they can find, how the book is kind of laid out. Every story starts out with an illustration. Some of the stories are 1 page. Some of the stories are 5 pages. And what I tried to do is, even in the longer stories with the pages, I try to insert a little a spot illustration that relates to the story. Back when I started this thing, there was nothing but pencils and Photoshop to do the color. As I progressed through it, I started to learn 3D because of all of this, because I was like, this is going to take years to do. So I started learning 3D and started building a lot of these things and learning how to sculpt in 3D, started to use renders, and then probably towards the end is when AI was coming along far enough to where you were doing retextures on top of the 3D that you had already set up in black and white. I always worked in black and white, even though I could do color. Using the AI, you're basically texturing instead of somebody having to physically lay those textures on there. So it is your design, it is lit your way, but it's putting a texture on it that is computer generated.
Sure.
So it spans all the way from when there was no such thing or there was barely a thing to where I was starting to utilize AI editing to recreate the textures and make a lot more realism out of it. So I try to keep it somewhere in the middle where it was a little bit more hand painted. Some of it comes right down to it's like, gee, this guy made this up in AI. Technically, I didn't. They were my designs within 3D, but they had the retextures on them. But then they look real.
The cover is awesome. Again, the book is Cryptids, Aliens, the Odd, Lance Irwin. It's on Amazon. Go join the conversation over at Facebook. And we're going to get into something a little different now. You're listening to local author Lance Irwin, and we'll continue that conversation in next week's episode where we will talk about eco-terrorism, community activism, and his health. In the meantime, this is the place where you will hear the latest Mansfield news, talk, and information. Until then, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, share, love, support this podcast if you haven't already so you never miss an episode. It's free and it's easy. Head on over to our website, aboutmansfield.com. Enter your email address right there on the homepage. We will never, ever, ever send you any spam. We promise.
About Mansfield is recorded at Podcast Mansfield Recording Studio. Hosts, Steve Casillo and Colleen Daniel. Moment with the Mayor, Michael Evans. Methodist Mansfield News to Know, Angel Biasatti. Cultural Arts Calendar, Tim Roberts. Cocktail of the Week, Brian Certain. Mansfield Military Moment, Nike Harrison. Post-production editing, mixing, and mastering, Steve Casillo and Andrew Miner.
This podcast is copyrighted by Podcast Mansfield Recording Studio and is intended for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this podcast without prior written consent is strictly prohibited. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Steve Casillo, and this is About Mansfield.